Experimenting with Google Bard. Bard is Google's AI chatbot, essentially Google's version of ChatGPT or Bing's Lamda. Bard has only just become available. I signed up as soon as I heard about the waitlist and was accepted shortly after. So whilst I've seen other people using ChatGPT, this is only going to be looking at Google Bard. So what is Google Bard and how do you use it? So the website is bard.google.com and here it is in the Chrome browser. You'll need to register and you may end up on a waitlist. I'm not sure whether I was exceptionally lucky in getting through so quickly or whether they're allowing a lot of people to sign up initially. By comparison, I've been waiting for ChatGPT for several weeks. It's listed as experimental and you can chat with the bot, have a conversation with it and rate its performance. I expect it will improve considerably over time. You start by writing a question or a task in the prompt and it responds with the result. I have had a very brief go already, but I'll be recording this in real time. I may add some comments or details when editing the video if appropriate. I'm going to be providing a maker's view of this, asking questions about the Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi Pico, a few different things and sort of see how it goes. So let's start with initial conversation with Google Bard. Hi Bard. Hi there, how can I help you today? So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm just going to have a conversation like I'm talking to somebody else. Very different to how I'd interact with a search engine. So I'm a maker, YouTuber, looking for some inspiration with my projects. Really, there's not a question there, so let's see how it comes back. Oh, there's a list of suggestions. Build a robot, create a 3D printer, make a video game. Actually, that's one of the things I've got on my list of ideas to ask it. Build a drone, build a website and start a YouTube channel. Many more possibilities, so be creative, have fun. It's already sounding quite friendly. So I'm going to ask it about the Raspberry Pi Pico. So one of the things here is the difference between the Pico and the Raspberry Pi computer, and I'm just wondering how well Bard will do with this. So it's got it as a microcontroller. All sounds correct. Yeah, so quite a nice introduction to what the Pico is. How does it compare with a Raspberry Pi computer? Now, I'm not referring to the Pico here. I'm just referring to the Raspberry Pi computer. So this is relying on Bard remembering some of the contexts of what I was talking about earlier. Okay, that's good. So great tools, different strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, microcontroller with no operating system versus a Raspberry Pi computer, which pre-installed operating system. Pretty much, yeah, what I'd say, that's quite good. So I'm going to, this is something that's quite subjective here. I'm going to ask which is better. It's kind of already answered this by saying depends on your situation, but let's see what it says. Yeah, really it's repeating that. They've got different strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so I'm going to ask it whether the Pico has wireless or is available with wireless. Yep, and it refers to the Raspberry Pi Pico W. Again, I'm trying to talk naturally, not deliberately referring to something that needs the context from the previous question. Yeah, this is actually really good. It's working out the context of what I'm saying. Let's try some actual maker projects. Let's get it to write a program, shall we? So let's write a program in Python. Use an LED. So this is related to a project I've been working on quite recently. And this so in this context, an LED arcade button, I mean a arcade button that has an LED that lights up within the button. Right, okay, so straight away I can see it has made a mistake. So I've asked for the Raspberry Pi Pico and it said this is for the Raspberry Pi Pico, but the RPI.GPIO is for the Raspberry Pi and not for the Pico. So, well, let's change it. That program is for a Raspberry Pi computer, not a Raspberry Pi Pico. Yeah, so it starts by apologising. Here's in MicroPython to use an LED arcade button with a Raspberry Pi Pico. So let's have a look at this. Digital reset. I think this is digital read. To me, sounds more like an Arduino. I'm not aware of that. Perhaps this is CircuitPython or something. It doesn't look quite like MicroPython. To start with import machine. Okay, so that's better. So this one's got import machine, we've got LED pin and button pin. Set input, set output. Right, I'm wondering whether this is correct. I'm going to actually try this. So let's get this. I should have a Pico around somewhere. I can use this one. In fact, I've got a Pico plugged in. It's not set up for doing this, but I should be able to plug in a switch and an LED. Just a moment. So I've stick an LED in. So this is using pin 2 and pin 4. So let's go for pin 4 for the pin 2 for the LED. So that's physical pin 4. I'll just use a bit of wire to simulate a switch on button pin 4, which is physical pin 6. That's Thonny. Start with a new project. Yeah, okay, so the code is not quite right. So let's actually try asking Bard about that. I think you would normally just set the value, so you'd put pin.value. Okay, so it's just apologise for the error. Machine pin.out. Pin.read. Again, I'm thinking. So let's try that. Now, again, it's got no value write. I'm not sure it's got a value read either. So where's line 12? So let's put that to be value. Pin.value. This is just because I've been doing something recently. I think that's. Oops. Input, yeah, it hasn't imported time. Right, so right, I think that might be a problem. So the loops rate is 1000, so presumably it's thinking in milliseconds. I think the time.sleep is actually in seconds, so let's try changing that. It's also duplicated 2 pins here, so actually this code isn't going to work. So this should be an LED pin. So this is not quite at the point where it's going to replace somebody soon, I don't think. So the button state is based on button pin.value and the LED so that's better. So if I hold the button down now, it's toggling. So quite a few errors in that, to be honest. Let's go back to Google and See if it's willing to learn from that. Still doesn't work. I've managed to fix the code. Would you like me to? Yes, I'd be interested in seeing. Always looking. Okay, so let's put that in. Okay, so it thanks me, and it's hopefully going to learn from that. So in fact, code's still not quite right actually. It's not quite how I do it, but at least this code runs. So we'll leave it with there for now. So let's see if it can provide a schematic diagram. So this is going to be a bit of a different thing. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. It looks like some kind of text-based description language. Okay. Okay, so let's leave that one there for now and try something completely different. I'm going to ask it about creating a program, a game. A game using Pygame. So Pygame Zero. So Pygame Zero is not going to be as well known on the internet as Pygame, but there is still a reasonable amount out there, including some projects I created myself. Let's see what it does. Where the player, I'll say. Controls a space ship and can shoot at enemies. Taking some thinking. Let's have a look. So this is Pygame rather than Pygame Zero. Move the shape. Let's have a go. I think I'll use Thonny again. We'll need to change the interpreter so it's not running on the Pico. Okay, so it doesn't like pygame.display.window. Let's just check. I'm running Pygame Zero mode. I don't think it needs. No. I mean, there's one thing. It's looking for an image and another image, so it's not going to necessarily run let's see where it makes the error message. It used to be Pygame. Okay, so it's kind of saying, kind of giving up, but fair enough. The code does look fairly good. I think you need to init the display first. I'm more familiar with Pygame Zero rather than Pygame. So I think you need... Yeah, so we'll leave that there. So, I mean, this has given a bit of an introduction as to what Bard is and its capabilities. The first thing is, compared to the interaction with computers before, this blows you away. I mean, it feels like you're actually chatting to somebody. It kind of reminds me of when Google first came out. So before then, you had search engines like Yahoo and Alta Vista and things like that, and you could only use like Boolean expressions or just single words. And Google actually came out and said, "Here's use natural language," which was a big step at the time. And this is like another massive leap on top of that. Still got a long way to go. As you can see, the code isn't usable. It's not going to be taking people's jobs just yet. But compared to what we've had in the past, it's not just providing the sort of results you'd expect from a search engine. So it's certainly been an interesting introduction into artificial intelligence and the way it's progressing. It'll be interesting to see how that develops, how it learns and improves over time. So I hope you found that useful. If you want to have a go, then go to bard.google.com and register or put yourself on the waitlist and see if you get a different experience. I said this, even though I had a very brief go a few days ago, this is actually improved since then. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you in a future video.